Okay, oh, I love this part. This is the part I really like. Here's what Stacy and her husband was saying. Go away, big thing. Go ahead. He says, what makes the story confusing? They're talking about their relationship and how they were going through some problems. What makes the story confusing and delay our breakthrough was the fact that we were already involved in church. We had gone through premarital counseling. We had read a few marriage books. Okay, maybe just one. Someone had kindly given us one of those marriage weekend seminars in our first year. Did they see something? I'm going to get back to that. We had gone, enjoyed it, aced all the exercises. We were in the weekly marriage couple group, for heaven's sakes. We had all the tips and techniques. But those tools apparently missed the issues of the heart. It wasn't the tools that missed.
Right.
You didn't concern yourself about the issues of the heart. You can go through all these things. They're wonderful. I love them. They're great. You can go there and do everything you want to try to make sure you do the best that you can. But if you don't take them and practice them at home on a daily basis,
Amen.
they ain't going to do nothing.
Amen.
When we come here and teach to you all that you all like what's being said, that was a good lesson. Well, it's no good if you ain't doing nothing with it.
Amen.
All I'm going to be doing up here for some of you all is taking an hour's worth of your time away. Because if you don't practice it, it don't make any difference. But this is what I did like. He says they had given us one of these weekly seminars. Did they see something? And I'm going to pass this because I know I don't get much time. Stacy and them talk about their children saying something about them and their marriage, that they were surprised that they were noticed. Some of you all don't recognize that people notice your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think people, if you've been married for more than 5 years and somebody don't know you married, then it could be the fact that they never see you together with each other. Just because you walk at each other, come here, Perry. Just because you walk it together with each other, that don't mean nothing. Every time they see us walking together, that's all they see. That don't mean nothing. Thank you, man. That don't mean nothing. I walk with, you see me with my wife, but if they don't know you married, it's just like somebody said, they don't know you a Christian. If they say, you're married? You really? I didn't know that. Something's wrong. Now the children saw an example about that. And they said, wow, I didn't even recognize that they knew that. Recognize that your children see the example of a marriage that you present. And if it's something wrong with it, then it's going to be something wrong with their example of marriage. I give the example when there's a seminar coming up. And it's about bullfighting in Spain. And they want to tell all the tourists how wonderful it is to run with the bulls. And so all of a sudden you see this man coming with a wheelchair. And he's coming in with a wheelchair. He's crippled and paralyzed. And he comes up there and says, running with the bulls is the greatest thing I ever did in my life. You're going to look at him and say, you must be crazy. You can't walk. You can't do nothing. This is the greatest thing in your life. If in the eyes of your children, of other people, they see your marriage and it's like being in a wheelchair, crippled. Do you think that your children are going to want to be married? If they see the husband crippling the wife, and every time she's walking, they literally see her like she's in a wheelchair because she's sad, do you think that they're going to want a husband? Amen. If the wife is always downing the husband and crippling him, do you think that she's going to want, the son is going to want a wife? Your relationship is noticed. And if your relationship is like somebody being crippled in a chair, your children ain't going to want to follow it. Your friends ain't going to want to follow that kind of relationship. Who wants to? I don't want to be a part of a relationship like that. So every time in your marriage, you're an example of something. Amen. You're in a covenant relationship. God is using your relationship as an example. So if you're fighting and you're calling your wife a name and calling her out of her name and saying she's worthless and she's no good and you'll never amount to something, and you got a little child like this seeing that, and then he grows up to be a child like this, hearing that all the time, what do you think he's going to think about a woman? That'll get him mad. You worthless anyway. Because that's what he learned from you in your crippled wheelchair relationship. Because that's what you're offering. I love the saints. What are we doing here? Is this what marriages, dreams, what the thing says, what it says, finding the marriage you dreamed of? Your marriage is an example. So that means the dreams you have are the dreams that others see. Amen. And if your children see that kind of relationship, it's going to be more like a nightmare. So realize that your marriages are being examined. Amen. I like this one thing it says here. Don't feel embarrassed.